They say some mirrors don't just reflect what's in front of them, they reflect what's coming. I never believed in haunted objects, curses, or premonitions. But when I think back to what happened in the fall of 2022, I realize now. Should have never looked. My name is Eli Porter, and I'm the last one left. It all started in a quiet New England town, Graymore, a place you won't find on any current map. We were just 5 friends in our 3rd year of college, looking to rent a cheap off-campus house for the semester. There was Milai, journalism major, always chasing stories. Then there was Juno, studying psychology, always asking questions. She probably shouldn't. Dev, our comic relief film major who couldn't go 5 minutes without quoting Tarantino. Serious, skeptical, a medical student with no patience for ghost stories. And Kamar Wildcard, a quiet photography major with a fascination for old buildings and forgotten things. We found the house on a sketchy rental site. Big Victorian thing with cracked siding and a wraparound porch that sagged like tired shoulders. But it was cheap, too cheap. We should have known something was off when the landlord said, "Stay out of the basement. It's not safe. The floorboards are weak." We all agreed to ignore that, of course. The day we moved in, Cam was the first to wander. He had this knack for finding old spaces and secrets. While we were unpacking, he found a trapdoor in the back pantry, hidden under a warped rug. "I found something," he said with a grin. "You guys have to see this." Dust choked the air as we pried it open. The ladder creaked under our weight. As we descended, one by one, into pitch black. The only light came from our phone flashlights. It wasn't much of a basement, more like a forgotten storage room filled with antique junk. Broken chairs, rotted boxes, rusty tools. But in the far corner, half covered by a moth-eaten cloth, stood a tall, ornate mirror. It was beautiful, maybe 6 feet tall, with an intricate black wood frame carved in spirals and thorns. The glass shimmered weirdly, even in the dark. At the top, etched in curling script, were the words, "That which is seen cannot be unseen." We hauled the mirror upstairs and set it in the hallway between our rooms. Dev laughed. "So we can all admire ourselves before death by midterms." Rhea rolled her eyes. "It's just an old mirror." That first night, nothing happened. At least, nothing we noticed. It wasn't until the second night that Cam said something strange. He came into the kitchen pale, holding his camera. "I was trying to get a shot of the hallway mirror," he said. "But when I checked the picture, I saw myself, except I was lying on the floor, bleeding, dead." Juno laughed nervously. "Probably a glitch. Your camera's haunted, not the mirror." But Cam wasn't laughing. That night, we checked the mirror again. Nothing strange, just our reflections. We all stood in front of it together, joking, taking pictures. Then, just past midnight, it changed. We didn't see it right away. It was Rhea who screamed, "Look." The mirror now showed Cam, same clothes, same expression, but lying flat on the ground behind us, blood pooling beneath him. We turned, but there was nothing there. Cam stood beside us, very much alive. He laughed, nervously. "That's messed up." We stared at the mirror for a long time. Then it flickered like a glitch on a TV screen and returned to normal. Dev recorded a video, pacing nervously. "Okay, that was dope. Creepy, but dope. Viral TikTok potential." Rhea shook her head. "It's just a trick of the light. Refraction. Maybe. This house is full of drafty corners." But deep down, we all felt it. That reflection had looked too real. The next day, Cam didn't come down for breakfast. At first, we thought he was just sleeping in. But by noon, Juno knocked on his door. No response. We opened it. Cam lay on the floor, exactly as he had appeared in the mirror. Blood had seeped from his head. where he'd hit the desk on the way down. The police said he slipped, probably stood too fast, lost balance. An accident, but we knew better, because when the paramedics carried him out, we looked at the mirror again. It was blank. Just our 4 reflections. Rhea was the first to reject it. Coincidence? She snapped. We're traumatized. We want to believe it's something more. Dev stopped cracking jokes after that. Juno became obsessed. She started researching haunted objects, mirrors and folklore, cursed antiques. She didn't sleep much after Cam died. As for me, I started documenting everything, recording my thoughts, Cam's photos, the time and date of the vision. The time and date of his death. I couldn't prove it yet, but I knew. The mirror had shown it. 3 nights later, just after midnight, the mirror changed again. This time, it was Dev in the mirror. He stood alone in the backyard, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream. Something wrapped around his neck, almost invisible, like wire. He was struggling, hands clawing at his throat. We turned and saw him beside us, alive. Staring in horror, he backed away from the mirror like it had burned him. I'm not going out tomorrow, he said. Screw this. Dev barricaded himself inside the house the next day. He didn't go near the backyard, didn't touch anything sharp. We brought him food, checked on him constantly. He made it through the day. At 11:30 p.m., we all breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe the mirror was wrong. Maybe it could be changed. But at 11:53 p.m., the power went out, and in the dark, we heard Dev scream. We ran to the stairs. He had tripped in the dark, tried to grab the railing and instead fell through the open back door that he swore had been locked. A rusted wire from the old garden fence had wrapped around his throat as he landed, exactly like the mirror had shown. The next morning, the police came again. Another accident. Another tragedy. But now it was just the 3 of us. Me, Juno, and Rhea. We didn't talk much that day. The air was heavy. The mirror. It was quiet, normal, like nothing had happened. But that night, at exactly midnight, it shimmered again, and this time it showed Juno. She was standing in her room, surrounded by papers, her laptop glowing. Then the light dimmed, and she collapsed onto the floor. No visible wound, no blood, just gone. And the worst part? She was watching herself in the mirror. Juno didn't speak for hours after seeing herself in the mirror. She just sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. Her tea went cold. Her laptop screen dimmed. She didn't blink much. Rhea tried to talk to her. I tried to, but Juno barely moved. It was like something had already claimed her, even though she was still breathing. That night, I stayed awake, pacing the hallway, watching the mirror from the edge of my bedroom door. Midnight came and went. No change. Juno didn't sleep. In her room that night, she curled up on the couch, like staying farther from the mirror might matter. But we all knew the truth. It didn't matter where you slept. It only mattered what the mirror had already shown. The next day, Juno tried to act normal. She made pancakes and played music. She even laughed when Dev's favorite playlist came on. But her eyes didn't smile. Her hands shook when she poured syrup. I knew what she was doing. She was trying to take control, trying to live as much as she could in the little time she believed she had left. Rhea still refused to believe it. We're feeding into a psychosis, she said. The mind makes connections where there are none. It's grief, trauma, coincidence. But even she didn't go near the mirror anymore, and that night, Juno died. It happened just like the mirror had shown. She was in her room, going over notes and printed articles she'd pinned to her wall, research about cursed mirrors, Romanian folklore, ancient spiritual warnings. Her desk lamp flickered once, then buzzed and went out. When I got there, she was collapsed across her desk. Not a mark on her, No struggle, no wound. Her face was peaceful. The doctors said it was her heart. Sudden arrhythmia, but she had no history, no warning. And in her last video file, saved moments before her death, she whispered, "I don't think it shows death. I think it brings it." After the funeral, it was just me and Rhea left in the house. 2 out of 5. We stopped speaking much. I spent more time documenting, writing, recording what happened each night, and the mirror. It never stopped. It became a ritual. Every night at exactly 12 a.m., it changed, and every time, it showed the next one. The first night after Juno, nothing changed. The second night, I checked it from my door, wary to look and run if I had to. It wasn't my face in the death scene. This time, it was Rhea's. She was in the bathtub, her eyes closed, head tilted back. Steam swirled in the air, and then the light above her flickered out. She didn't move. She just sank. I turned from the mirror and ran to her room. She wasn't there. The bathroom door was closed. I banged on it, yelling, heart pounding, nothing. I slammed my shoulder into it when it cracked open. Rhea was fine standing in front of the mirror over the sink, brushing her hair. "Jesus, Eli," she shouted. "I'm not dying yet." I backed away, breathless. "Don't take a bath tonight." She frowned. "What?" "Don't, please. Shower, use wipes. I don't care. Just don't go underwater." She didn't understand, but something in my voice shook her. That night, she slept on the floor of my room. Neither of us spoke. The next morning, she looked at me across the table. "Okay," she said. "What do we do? 'Cause we can't keep living like this." I nodded. "We find out where it came from." That day, we started digging. County records, property deeds, library archives. We discovered that the house had been built in 1887 by a man named Edwin Mallory. Local eccentric, obsessed with death and the supernatural. Mallory had lived here alone until his death in 1913, supposedly found in front of a mirror, eyes wide open, arms folded like he'd been waiting. No one could explain the cause of death. We kept digging. The mirror wasn't listed in any inventories, but we found a photograph in the town archives, a sepia tone picture of the house interior. In the background, near the stairs, the same mirror, over a century old, and yet the glass looked pristine, like time didn't touch it. We tracked down Mallory's journals preserved in the university's special collections library. Inside, written in spidery handwriting, I have crafted a looking glass from obsidian and silver. Each night it reveals what tomorrow takes. I fear it is no longer reflecting fate, but consuming it. And later, it started with birds. Then rats. Then the housemaid. Now it shows my every night. I have tried not to look, but I cannot resist. And I think a teat knows. There were no more entries after that. That night, I didn't look. I locked my door, shut the blinds, locked the hallway with a chair, covered the mirror with a blanket and tape. But even so, at midnight, I heard it. A low hum, like metal grinding softly, like wind whispering through a keyhole. I didn't go near it, but the next morning, Rhea was gone. Not dead, gone. Her bed untouched. No signs of struggle, her phone still charging, just gone. I searched the house for hours. Then I saw the mirror. The blanket I'd used to cover it was folded neatly on the floor, and the mirror. It showed only one reflection, mine, and something standing behind me. I turned fast. Nothing. The room was empty. I should have left then. I called the police, moved to a different state, but I couldn't, because I needed to know the truth. Why me? Why was I still alive? Why did the mirror choose us? I drove to the university again, back to special collections, looking for anything else. Any clue dot in the back of the Mallory file was an old letter, unsealed, never mailed to anyone who finds. This mirror, do not keep it, do not use it. It feeds on the act of looking. The more you stare, the more it learns. It needs witnesses. It shows not to warn, but to trap. I read it again and again. It needs witnesses. I returned to the house, and that night I didn't just look at the mirror. I filmed it, set up every camera I had. Multiple angles, bright lighting at midnight. It changed, it showed. Me, sitting where I was, staring into the mirror. Watching. A version of myself, slowly rot, my hair falling out, my eyes blackening, skin turning pale and thin like wax, like I'd been sitting there for years then. The reflection looked directly at me, not the version of me on the screen. Me, it smiled. And it whispered something. I couldn't hear it, so I rewound the video, and again, until I heard it. One word: soon. I didn't sleep after that night. I couldn't. The reflection had spoken to me. Its mouth had moved. Its eyes had locked on my knot in the glass, but through it. And it whispered, soon. It wasn't just showing my death anymore. It was speaking to me. That night marked a turning point. The mirror wasn't just an object. It was alive, and I needed to know what it really was. I went back to the university the next morning again. This time, I dug not just into Edwin Mallory's journals, but the surrounding history of the house, the materials, the architecture, the origins of the mirror itself. Mallory had been part of something strange, a group known as the Obsidian. Circled an obscure 19th century occult society, not famous, not documented in modern history books, but there were whispers. A paper from 1891 mentioned them members who believed that death was not the end, but a loop, something that could be. Read, predicted, even controlled. They used obsidiana, naturally volcanic black glasses, a channel. And silver too binds the spirit world to the material one. The mirror had been handcrafted during a ritual in 1886. It was said to be the eye of the void, a gateway between what is and what will be. But that wasn't all. One page stained. Burned along the edge had a scribbled warning. The mirror needs time. It studies, reflects not your face, but your fear. Once it knows you, it mirrors not your death, but your undoing. That line hit me hard. The mirror didn't predict death. It created it. And I was next. Using archived town records and local obituaries, I started connecting the dots. The mirror had surfaced before. In 1929, a family of 6 died in a house fire, except there was no sign of smoke damage inside the home. In 1954, a schoolteacher was found drowned in a dry attic. In 1982, a man was found in front of a mirror with his mouth torn open, as if by unseen hands. Each time, the only constant was this: the mirror had been present, quietly passed down, bought in antique auctions, left behind in estates. It had changed names, changed cities, always resurfacing, always claiming lives, always watching. One line in an old crime report caught my eye. Item removed from scene by Clara Mallory, survived. A relative of Edwin. I had to find her. Turns out she was still alive barely. 94 years old. Living in a care home 2 counties over. I drove there without thinking. When I arrived, a nurse led me to her room. She sat in a chair by the window, pale and thin, her hair like silver thread. Her eyes, though clouded, were sharp. She stared at me for a long time before speaking. "You've seen it," she said. I froze. "The mirror," she nodded once. "It lets you see. Then it makes you need to." "How did you survive?" I asked. She smiled faintly. I didn't look. Her hands trembled as she reached into a drawer and handed me an envelope, yellowed and brittle dot. Inside was a page torn from a book. A ritual, a warning. To break the mirror's hold, you must reflect its hunger, starve it of attention. Deny it your fear. She looked at me, and for a moment, her voice was strong. If you stare long enough, it stares back. That's when you're already inside it. I left her room shaken. She was the only person who'd touched the mirror and lived. Because she looked away. When I returned home, the house felt darker. Not visually, emotionally. The air was thicker. Time felt slower. I decided to stop watching the mirror. I taped it up, boarded it with plywood, shut off the hallway lights. For 2 days, I stayed in my room, ate little, slept on the floor. Played white noise to block the humming. It didn't work. The third night, I woke up. Standing in front of the mirror, I don't remember getting there, but there I was barefoot, shaking with a hammer in one hand. The boards had been torn off, the tarp shredded, and the mirror. The reflection showed me holding the hammer and something moving behind me. I tried to smash it. I lifted the hammer and swung with everything I had, but the moment it touched the glass, stopped, like hitting rubber. It bounced. No crack, no dent. And then, the reflection changed. It showed me older, worn down, alone. Standing in a hospital room, a heart monitor, flatlining, then again me, in a car crash. Again me, falling downstairs. Then again, and again. Hundreds of deaths. All me, over, and over, and over. My hands dropped the hammer, and the mirror whispered again. This time, I didn't hear words. Just laughter, mocking, like it was tired of waiting. That night, I saw something different. Not death. A boy, about 10, sitting on the floor, crying. He looked up and I saw my face, younger, pale, afraid. And behind him, the mirror, exactly the same. I realized the knit had always been there. Even before I found it, I remembered a vague memory. As a child, visiting a strange house. A man showing me something shiny, telling me to look carefully, and you'll see tomorrow. I thought it was a dream, but now I'm not so sure. What if the mirror doesn't just show death? What if it chooses people early? What if it's always known me? Seen the final entry of Mallory, there was one last thing in Edwin Mallory's journal. Drawing an elaborate symbol, an obsidian circle surrounded by eyes. Below it, a note. When the reflection no longer matches the present, the soul has been mirrored. I don't know what that means yet, but I'm starting to notice. My reflection doesn't always follow me anymore. Sometimes it lingers half a second too long. Sometimes it smiles when I dance single quotes. Sometimes it blinks late. And last night, I wasn't in it at all. Just the mirror. Empty, watching, waiting. There's a moment when you stop fearing the mirror and start fearing yourself. That's what happened after the night I saw nothing in the reflection. Not me, not the room. Just black glass. It was like I had stopped existing, but I was still. Alive, breathing, thinking, at least. I thought I was, until things started changing. It began subtly. The mirror started showing images that didn't happen. Deaths that never came. At midnight one night, it showed me slumped over the kitchen table, a knife in my back. I stayed away from the kitchen all day, but nothing happened. No knife. Nothing. Another night, it showed me trapped under rubble, like the house had collapsed. But again, nothing happened. That should have been good news, right? It wasn't, because it meant something had changed. It wasn't just showing death anymore. It was manipulating it, or worse, testing me. Seen, the mirror becomes unpredictable. The nights that followed were erratic. Midnight came. Sometimes the mirror stayed blank. Sometimes it showed me smiling, alive and well. Other times it showed me decaying slowly in my bed. Then, one night, It showed someone else, a woman I'd never seen before, in a red coat. Standing outside my front door, I ran to check. Nothing. I checked every window. The porch, the yard, empty. When I returned to the hallway, the mirror had changed again. Now it showed her inside the house behind me. I spun around. Nothing. But I swear, I felt breath on the back of my neck. That's when I understood something deeper. It wasn't just predicting. It wasn't just showing. It was learning, and when I ignored it. It got angry when I stayed in bed all night with the door locked. The next morning, I'd find the mirror moved. Once it was leaning against the wall in my bedroom. Another time, propped against the bathroom door. No noise, no damage. Just relocated, like it wanted me to look. It couldn't kill me unless I looked. That was the rule, but I kept failing. Curiosity, panic, obsession. It always won. That night, I tried fire. I dragged the mirror outside, doused it in lighter fluid, lit the match. The flames licked the edges. The wood smoked, the silver curled. It smelled like burning hair and copper. I stood back, waiting for it to crack, melt, shatter. But the glass stayed solid and then showed. My face burned, screaming, skin bubbling and peeling. I looked down, the fire was out, just ashes. No heat, the mirror stood untouched, and my reflection. It smiled again. Desperate, I went back through every note, every journal, every recording. There had to be a way out. Then I saw it in Juno's files, something I'd overlooked. A recording. Garbled audio. Almost nothing but static. But if you slowed it down, right before she died, she said something. It doesn't just show our deaths, it shows its birth. That line sat in my head like a splinter. What did she mean? Scene A. Stranger knocks the next night. A knock came at my door. 3 soft taps. Then silence. I froze. Another knock, this time louder. I opened the door with a hammer in hand. No one was there, but in the hallway mirror, a figure stood behind me. I turned, still empty. I grabbed the mirror and screamed, "What do you want?" And in the glass, the figure moved. Closer, not me. Not anyone I'd seen before. A black silhouette with empty eye sockets. It raised one hand and pointed. Behind me, I turned slowly. There was nothing, but when I looked back, the mirror was gone. I didn't sleep. I felt cold all over. The next morning, I checked every room. Then I saw it, not the mirror, but my reflection in the window, in the faucet. In the shine of my phone screen, it wasn't right. It blinked when I didn't. It smiled when I cried. It moved before I did. It had become me. I finally understood. The mirror didn't want to kill me. It wanted to replace me. It was never about predicting death. It was about becoming, learning, narrating, taking. And now that I'd stared long enough, now that it had studied my fear, my guilt, my grief, it could wear me like a mask. Every death it showed wasn't a prediction. It was a test. What would I do? Would I fight? Would I run? Would I let it in? And now, it had one dot, because when I looked in the mirror tonight, it blinked first. The town had gone quiet. Not the quiet of sleep or slumber, but the uneasy silence of a place that had lost its soul. Stores closed early. People whispered instead of talking. Curtains were always drawn. And those who had once come in contact with the mirror were either dead or too scared to speak. Talia stood in her grandmother's home, now hers. The mirror, covered once again with its blood-red cloth, stood in the corner of the attic, humming with energy. It had taken too much. It had ruined too many lives. She had one last job to do. A storm brewed outside, and thunder shook the windows. Rain fell like tears, steady and relentless. Talia sat at her grandmother's old desk, flipping through the journal she had left behind. Every page, every note had pointed to one conclusion. The mirror was never meant to show deaths it chose. It wasn't just a passive window. It fed on fear. It manipulated fate. It wasn't showing what would happen, it was making it happen. She remembered the last page of the journal. Break the chain of fear, or it will feed forever. Downstairs, someone knocked on the front door. Talia froze. No one should have been out in this weather. Slowly, she made her way down the creaking stairs. The knock came again, 3 sharp raps. When she opened the door, she found a boy, soaked from head to toe, maybe 16 years old. He looked terrified. "I saw it," he whispered. "The mirror in my dream." Talia's stomach dropped. "It was in my closet," he said. "I saw myself. I was bleeding. I woke up screaming, and now I can't stop seeing it, even with my eyes open." The mirror was spreading. She brought him inside, gave him a towel, and tried to calm him down. But her heart thudded against her ribs like a warning drum. That night, the mirror began whispering again. She could hear it in the attic, calling her name like a child desperate for attention. When she went up, she saw that the cloth had fallen. The mirror shimmered alive, but there was no reflection, only a black void. And then, faces: her grandmother, Jonah, Ava, people the mirror had claimed. Their eyes hollow, their mouths moving soundlessly. They were trapped. Suddenly, Talia saw herself in the mirror. Older, paler. Her lips moved, but the sound came from behind her. "Burn it," the reflection said, "before it finds another host." Talia stumbled back. The mirror pulsed. She looked at the boy. He stood at the attic door, watching the glass. "No," she screamed. "Don't look at it." But he had already seen. His eyes glazed. A single tear rolled down his cheek. He turned to her with an expression of defeat. "I saw you die." Talia knew it was now or never. She grabbed the mirror by its wooden frame and dragged it out into the storm. Lightning flashed. Thunder cracked. The mirror screamed, not literally, but inside her head. It howled in anger. She ran into the woods behind the house where her grandmother had burned her old spellbooks. She poured gasoline around the mirror, lit a match, and dropped it. The mirror wailed. The fire hissed and cracked. The air thickened with the scent of burning wood. And something darker, then silence. The storm died. The wind stopped. The boy collapsed beside her, sobbing quietly. And the mirror was gone. Or so she thought. Weeks passed. The town returned to a strange version of normal. Some people even smiled again. The nightmares faded. The whispers stopped. Talia felt the weight lift from her shoulders. But one night, she went to close her bedroom window and saw something odd in the reflection. A shadow just behind her. She turned, nothing. When she looked again, the shadow was closer. Talia didn't scream. She just stared at the mirror and whispered, "Not again." The screen fades to black. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment "end" so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know, where are you watching from? Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, stay happy. Goodbye.